and it's very easy. So normally, we've opened this one already, but you can see like the perforated line here and the pair of scissors on there. So you basically cut the bag along that line, and you open it up and just pour your grease in there. So I'm gonna stand up, but you just basically pour it in, and it just grabs it. So you can kind of see in that window there.
Yeah, the little circle.
Yeah, and you can see it just starts disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so you just pour it, and it grabs it, keeps absorbing. And like I said, I mean, a bottle, I always tell people 32 ounces, which they're not going to measure out, or a bottle of cooking oil. Okay. Whatever, so that I'm dripping everywhere. It's not leaking, it's dripping. but yeah, and then it's still absorbing, no problems, and you don't even have to like do anything special. Even like your
Welcome everybody to Speak Your Life Podcast. My name is Andre. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the like button so that other people can get this video, and the YouTube algorithm will be able to share with as many people as possible. Today's special guest comes all the way from Texas. And she's been all over the place. Texas, New York, wherever.
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta now.
Yeah. And she's been featured on Shark Tank, and it is on season 8, episode 13, and you can check that on Hulu today. And I just want you to please welcome LaTangela Newsome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So I always like to ask everybody, how are you feeling? 1 to 10. What do you feel like today?
Oh, today I'm probably about a 6 because my back hurts, y'all.
We're going to make sure she gets straightened out at the chiropractor.
Right. I need an adjustment. And I had a nerve to wear heels last night at this event. Man. And it took me out. So I'm struggling.
But you were feeling good in the moment.
I was. I was feeling great, actually. A couple shots later, I was good.
Yeah, that's right. That's all that matters.
Right.
You got to get some good pictures, some good angles, and now we got to get it taken care of. We don't share that part of the business. But anyway.
Right.
So basically, are you ready to speak your life?
Sure, definitely.
Right, cool,
I'm ready.
Cool. So the two most important things that we like to talk about is the day you were born and why. So you don't have to give us like the exact day or time, or you can just give us like an era, like what was going on during the culture.
Definitely born in the 80s.
Yeah.
So there was breakdancing going on, and a whole lot of colors and crazy hair and spandex.
Mm-hmm.
But in the 80s for me, my mom was a performer. She's a singer, so she was doing she's performing all over the place with the live band and dragging me to rehearsals with her. And I'm an actress as well, so
that's right.
I started doing pageants back then.
Wow.
So that was my world. Yeah.
Nice. So probably like around a teenager, you kind of started doing that, or
as far as pageants?
Mm-hmm.
I actually did my first one. I was 7 or 8.
7 or 8? Okay.
Yeah. And I actually I didn't go the long haul like most kids. I started off like really just being just wanting to entertain, and so my mom was just trying to see where to put me and what to do, and I actually did well. I ended up going all the way to nationals, and then when she got that bill, she's like, "Yeah, no, we can't afford that. What do we want to do now? Anything else you want to do?" It's like $10,000 back then. It's crazy. We couldn't afford that, but I kept winning. It was like one city, one state, and then nationals.
Wow.
But we couldn't afford that part, so we moved on.
Wow. Now they have GoFundMe's and everything. Imagine if they had GoFundMe back then.
Oh, I'm telling you, she wasn't the mom to, spend all the money. She actually went to a store called Montgomery Ward back then. She paid $35 for my dress. I remember it was black velvet on top and gold, like tiger on the bottom or something, but it was like gold and metallically. And I mean, she didn't do all the crazy makeup. I went to Kmart and got my pictures done, but I would win Miss Photogenic, Most Talented. Like, I would win all the categories. So I'm like, is it really necessary to spend all of that? And I don't know.
Apparently not. So
right, and she didn't really want to make me look like a little grown woman or anything, so I was still a kid, you know.
Yeah. That's good. Like, you know, I see like these Netflix series on things like that, and it kind of makes me think like these little girls are like growing up really too fast, in my opinion.
Yes.
And I don't know, they kind of get sexualized like at an early age.
And I think so. I think it's dangerous. You know, there's pedophiles. Pedophilia is a real thing. So it's just like making them look like little grown women is to me not really necessary. You know, it's just my mom would do a little blush and lip gloss and maybe a little mascara to kind of like my eyes stand out. But that was it. Like she just wouldn't.
It's like
she wouldn't let me do all that.
Any lipstick or lip gloss, not the red one.
Right, not the red one.
That's too sexy.
That's too much. That's too grown. That's too grown. That's what they would tell you.
Yeah. I'll keep that in mind when I have a daughter. So
yes, definitely not red right away. That comes later.
That's right. You gotta earn that. But anyways, So tell us about like your journey as like, you know, growing up in the '80s. You went through pageants, all that stuff. So getting exposure to like being, I guess, on stage and you know, having that experience, and like what led you to like where you are now, and like your where you feel like your calling is, your why, your purpose.
That's a good question because it's been a little bit of a journey for me, and really like I'm the type of person that I just always have to be doing something. And my passion, of course, you know, is entertainment. And it's now being an entrepreneur. But I think just the creative aspect of even being an entrepreneur is what brought me into being an entrepreneur. Because I've always been creative, you know. So whether I was, even when I was doing the pageants, like nobody wrote my material. I wrote my material. Like I played, you know, we learned something in school and I turned it into a play. And I played 3 different parts, like on stage. That was my first one when I was 8. But I won, you know.
That's
and even like,
cool.
and then like later on in life, I went to, you know, a convention that was like in Mississippi, and it was for like New York agents and managers. And so now at that point we were trying to find an agent. You know, I told you we had to move on. We couldn't afford it. So my mom still kept me in classes and different things. But then it was like, okay, now let's see, you know, see what you got. And she took me to this convention, and I got a few offers, and somebody invited me to New York. I wrote a milk commercial. The milk commercials were big, so I wrote my own milk commercial back then. So that I've always been the creative person and sort of like take the reins type person. Not really looking for somebody to do everything for me, even at that age. And eventually, I did end up in New York, and that manager was representing me, and I signed with Abrams Artists back then, and went to performing arts school. And I was in New York for a number of years, and still auditioning, still putting my hands in pretty much everything. I sing as well, so I was in the studio heavy for the majority of that time, and then I was still auditioning, and all of a sudden I booked a role. So I was in studios with like, I signed them this label called Mechadon back in the day. If anybody remembers, Adina Howard was signed to Mechadon. So the two guys that discovered Adina Howard, which was Max Goose, shout out to Max, and Roger Romaine, shout out to them. They discovered her, and they signed me at like 15.
That's what's up.
And so I was in like a production deal with them, and did some recording with Deborah Cox and different things. And I saw Max last night. After all these years, I ran into this guy. So crazy at the premiere, Karen. So I was at the premiere. I was like, he was directly across from me. Like where I sat, I looked up and it was him. It was crazy.
Wow. So what did you say to him?
Oh, I went up to him and I was just like, Max, and I had to like jog his memory for a second because I'm looking totally different. He was like, oh my gosh, and we hugged it up, and it was crazy though. So it was weird, and I literally just posted a flyer of his like the day before yesterday because he was like looking for a legend, another music artist, and I was like, you know, anybody out there that's looking to sign, you know, this is a great opportunity because he's huge. He manages Saweetie and stuff now. And so him and Sean Garrett are doing this search. So I just wanted to post it on my page, and then I run into him. So it's crazy.
That's really crazy. That's really crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, and then I booked a television show called Taina. That's where most people know me from. Eventually, when I was in New York, I ended up doing Taina, where I got to sing and act. And I wrote a little bit on that show. Everybody remembers my answering machine scene, so I actually wrote that. But yeah, so I did that for a couple of years, and then once we went off the air, it was like, what do I do with my life? Like, we were on this iconic show, and you know, it's really hard to just kind of say, okay, well, I'm just going to get a job now. You know, even if that was what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, it would have been fine. But because, you know, I've always wanted to get back to my acting, my singing, or whatever it was I was going to end up doing, I had to kind of find my way. And so I wrote a children's book after that show. I had a kid and I was a single mom. So, after that I wrote a children's book, which is an anti-cyberbullying children's book called Military Brats. And I toured with that. I am a brat, so that's why I wrote it and made them the superhero. But I did that, and then I cook a lot. I love to cook, so that's the other side of me that's creative. That's right. And I just got tired of my grease. I just literally got tired of my grease, and I was like, there has to be a solution. And my brother and I started throwing it around, and we was like, what about this, and what about that, and there's got to be something. And then we just let it go for a while until it came up again years later. And I've always kind of thought about it in the back of my mind, and literally I was just getting complaints at my apartment. I was paying for valet trash, and the grease, they come up and they throw the trash on the trucks, throwing it. So you got grease in there, even in this coffee can, which everybody believes so much in, right?
Yeah.
I don't care how many plastic bags you put around that thing, it's gonna leak. And I got complaints. And I lived in a nice complex, and the rats were coming around. I'm talking about big one. I opened up my door, and it was like one like that. I was like, oh. It literally ran past me, and I was like, oh my God. So I got a note, and it was because of me that they were coming around, because they was like, look, we come pick up your trash, but you got to do something else with your grease. And so I'm on 3 flights up 3 flights of stairs. And so I had to take this and, separately from my trash and find somewhere to dispose of it. So it just put me back in the mindset of it. It was like, okay, now you need to figure out if there's a solution. And I dug deep, and I couldn't find anything. And I also realized that it was a bigger environmental problem than I thought.
Yeah.
So that's what really made me like, okay, if I make something, if I create something, it really has to speak to the environment. It really has to solve all these problems that we're having. So, and that's where it came from. And then I've always been a Shark Tank fanatic. So I was like, if I come up with something and it's worthy enough, I'm going to go out for the show. So I did, and happened to make it.
Yeah, you impressed a lot of people.
Thank you.
You impressed a lot.
You.
I mean, I was watching the show. I was like, yeah, I met her. That's cool.
Man, it was a journey. My audition was 8 months long.
Wow. From application to like.
Yeah, I went to the open call. I was number 353 in line, and I was out there all day. It was cold that day. I was in Dallas, and people had slept out there, so I thought I was early when I pulled up. The line was already wrapped. I was like, oh.
You were late.
I know, right? I was talking about sleeping bag. The first people had sleeping bags and tents out there.
But you were just in time.
Man, I guess so. And I was like, man, just as long as I get a wristband, I'll stand out here all day. But I didn't want them to cut the line off or say, well, we're out of wristbands, sorry. Whatever, go to the next city. Yeah. So I was like, man, after all of that, because I was actually working South by Southwest that week.
That's a big music.
Yeah, so I was out there working. And then I got, I had to get ready for this. I was developing the product. The prototype hadn't came in yet. So the night before my audition, it came. I received it FedEx. I was like, you have to expedite this. I have the audition is tomorrow. Wow. So it was that type of scramble. And this 40-page application I had to have filled out and ready to go. And then I stood in line for hours and hours and hours. And finally got in there. And they're like, okay, take a break. Come back and wait again. And then you get to pitch. Yeah. And then we'll see. Yeah. And if you don't get a call in 2 weeks or so, assume you're not going to hear from us. So I got one in 10 days, and it just kept going. Kept going. Send us a video. Here's another application. They do due diligence on your business, so you really have to have your legalities in order. And I was new to all of that. I don't have a degree in business. I didn't even finish college. So I was like, I don't know about any of this, but I found help. I went to the local college. I found a business consultant to help me, to give me some free help, and I basically stayed in his office 4 hours a day and started my business, did my LLC, did my trademarks, did all that stuff, developed my product, and I was still developing grease bags. It didn't always look like this, or whatever, so it was a little different. So all this was happening simultaneously, and I had to write my pitch and send in videos and look like something.
I'm overwhelmed just by hearing you.
Thank you, thank you for feeling my pain, because some people are like, okay. I'm like, no, you don't know what I went through.
no, seriously. Like, I mean, because, you know, I didn't get on Shark Tank, but, like, you know, I know the process, like, starting LLC and
all that
stuff, you know, getting a card, you know, credit card for your, you know, getting business credit, all that stuff. Like, it's a process.
It's a process. And then, you know, this was also a process because it looks simple. But there's a lot of testing that had to be done. There was a lot of lab tests. I can't make all these claims and say I'm biodegradable and compostable and, you know, we encapsulate your grease and, you know, it'll never leak without going through all those different tests and not having the EPA on my butt.
You
gotta back it up.
You can't just make this claim and then, you know, sell a bunch of products just to make money.
Exactly.
If it's not actually helping the environment.
Exactly. So these things have a shelf life. I mean, they won't even last forever on the shelf. They'll leave them in the carton and they're gonna start eating at each other. Like, they're just gonna go away. So and I have a compost bin on my patio, so I actually throw them in there, throw the inside in there sometimes or whatever, just to kind of add to the compost pile, and it just starts disappearing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us about, like, how long it took from the idea to all the way, like, what we have now. Like, how long did that take?
It took me, I want to say, the 8 months of that I auditioned for Shark Tank. So I had started working on the idea maybe like a month or two prior to that, maybe. But it was like drawings and trying to find the people to actually make what I dreamed up and finding the materials and contacting all these different absorbent companies and natural people that create. I need to find sustainable materials as well. So getting samples from all these different suppliers and companies to test it out myself at home and make sure it's absorbing grease the way I want it to and all that stuff. So I did that for like maybe 3 months. Then I started developing, then I found a company to actually make the bag, and then I auditioned for Shark Tank. So it might have been about maybe a few months, little shy of a year that I actually finished everything and made it on the show and actually taped the show and did all that. It was like less than a year that all that happened. So. And
so, like, for the patent itself, like, how long did that take?
Well, it's still pending. It's still pending. We're still pending. We had to go back in and make some adjustments, but we're still pending. We have a crackerjack on it right now, so we were not far from it though. But it's such a tricky thing. The wording is everything with these patents, and you know, even the drawings and stuff like that have to be so specific. But we're pending. We're in there. So
wow. So you guys are. What stores are you guys in there? Like, just so the people know.
Well, we're actually not in retail yet. We are still, we're still Amazon, and you can go to my website, which is Shopify, but it's greasebags with an S.com, just like it sounds. But yeah, we're actually, it's not that we can't though. We're getting approached all the time, but we're really about positioning right now because it is such a environmentally heavy product. It's so needed. We're teaming up with municipalities more so than just trying to go straight to the stores because the education part is an uphill battle. You know, if people don't know about a grease bag or have never heard of it, they're not even gonna go to the store looking for it.
Yeah, that's
if you didn't happen to see Shark Tank, you're not gonna know. And so Shark Tank actually sells the bag for me. I haven't even paid for an ad yet.
Really?
No, never. I haven't paid for an ad. Yeah, but it's just, you know, been me positioning and trying to create the infrastructure with the cities and different things like that. And some of them have reached out to us. You know, they'll go on Google and be like, what do we do about this grease? Because the cities know the problem. The consumers don't know.
Wow.
So they don't know that little bit of grease being poured down the drain is reaping havoc on the planet. Like, they don't know that. You know, they're like, oh, it's a big deal. I might mess up my pipes, but I'll take the chance. But it's like, no, that's not really what happens. It's worse than you think.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's going to accumulate, and if everybody does that, we get these fatbergs in our neighborhoods, and then you get the sewage backups.
Yeah.
And then you've got a little pond, you're killing all the fish, it's overflowing, and they'll put the yellow sign that's saying, sewage backup caused by grease. It comes on the news. You'll see it on the news a lot, especially around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You'll see it happen a lot. New York, Queens had a horrible situation, and with COVID and everything else that's going around, nobody needs any more any more help spreading viruses or anything like that. And it's like, you don't think about it until your house is flooded with sewage.
That's right.
You know,
that's
and
right.
It's like, just grease? Really?
Yeah.
That's the problem. And the cities are spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on pipeline replacements and cleanups.
Yeah.
Then the EPA fines the city, and then they got to pay those fines. So it's like, it's cheaper to buy a grease bag.
That's right.
You know, and so that's where the cities have come to us and they're like, look, we Googled this problem and we found you because you're the only one. Let me get some of those bags, and they'll distribute them to the residents to encourage them to use them, and then, you know, discount their bill or whatever so they can continue to use them or whatever. But there's consequences when you don't.
I was reading something that was like 1 liter of like vegetable oil can like cause like the whole sewage to like mess up and cause like disruption.
Yes, and it's so crazy. I mean, we've all been using the coffee can, and a lot of people are like, you know, why don't I just use a coffee can? You know, that's free, and you know that type of thing. There's a couple reasons why. Yeah, it's because like we have our landfills are already overflowing with waste. So it's like people are like, no more plastic right now. We're hearing that conversation a lot. Even Snoop teamed up with Revolt TV, and he was like, you know, you still drinking out of a plastic bottle, bro? I'm like, what? We don't do that no more. Yeah. You know, so it's like plastic is not cool anymore.
No, it's not.
So it's like, so we need to do away with using these before we can repurpose these. You know, if you have coffee cans, use them for something else around your house, or you know, wrap them and make them look pretty. Use them as containers or whatever. Put your nails in them in the garage or whatever. But throwing all this in the landfill, and then on top of that, it's full of grease. Because then the other problem that we're having is the soil is basically nothing. Like, that's why vegetables don't taste like nothing. That's why there's no nutrients in anything. That's true. So putting all these like hazardous waste back into the soil is another, you know, factor that we have to think about. So with these, they encapsulate your oil. So even when you throw it in the landfill, it'll never leak. So it'll never leach into the earth. It actually has microbes in the absorbent that'll help break it down. So basically turning your grease into fertilizer. In the simplest form, without me going too technical. I didn't like when I guess I was like so focused on watching. I was like, I was so enthralled with you being there. I was like, I didn't even pay attention to that part. Yeah,
like,
it's so much information.
It down into like as if it was fertilizer.
Yes, so it's like another byproduct, and there's these systems that we have now, which Europe has been doing it forever, so we late. Really? But the anaerobic digestion systems are like where people are putting like waste, and so they're basically like they're diverting waste, turning it into biofuel. Okay. And there's byproducts that come from that as well that that they use to like fertilize crops, and farmers to give it back to the farmers to make those crops like more nutrient rich and to, you know, help them grow. So this is pretty much that in a bag, sort of like, if you want to kind of simplify it. So it's like, if you put it in a landfill or just throw it in your trash and it ends up in the landfill, that's fine. Okay. And then if you want to compost it, you know, of course with food scraps only or whatever, because it's good for motor oil and stuff too. So I'm like, don't put the motor oil in the compost pile, please. No, please. Not the paint either. Cooking oil. But cooking oil normally can't just go in the compost like that. Bokashi compost though is an exception. So that's something people are doing on the regular. It's very easy. So the Bokashi compost is the best for this, but even in the regular compost pile, you should be fine with it. But it has microbes in it, so it's fertilizing. So when you can put this in an anaerobic digestion system, and the grease is actually one of the biggest factors into creating methane. So methane is what they really need for the green fuel. So this is a good factor, and putting it in there with the grease bag helps it from causing corrosion and equipment issues, you know, because just raw grease can kind of like start corroding and just causing problems. So this keeps it a little safer. And then just the byproducts that come after that, like you can even take that and, like I said, turns it into like a fertilizer. Malorganite is a product that's similar. They'll take the waste from the sewage plants and repurpose it and all that stuff, and it becomes a super fertilizer for your grass and stuff. So this is something that's in that family. Yes, those green plush grass. You're like, I just
this stuff right here.
Right. And so I'm like, you'll see those yards, and you're like, oh my god, it's so plush. I just want to walk on it barefoot. Yeah. It's like the Malorganite they're putting on there.
That's my yard.
Right. Is it really? You need to come do mine. So But I took all those things into consideration because I get the question all the time, you know, why would I do that? Why would I do this? You know, and then when you're in an Airbnb, like that's what the Shark Tank producers told me. And someone else just told me this yesterday as well. They were actually, I had a meeting, and the girl that I was meeting with said that too. She needed one in her Airbnb because it's like, nobody has an extra coffee can at the Airbnb.
That's true.
So what you doing with the grease? And you're not paying for those pipe repairs or for the plumber to come over. So you're gonna throw that greaseware down the drain, and you're not gonna care about the owner. So owners, I'm speaking to you. Yep. Save your life, save your pipes, buy a grease bag.
And save your business.
Yes, exactly. And make them use it. And put that little sign that says, if I have plumbing issues and this grease bag is not used, you got to pay the bill. Yeah. I mean, I have Airbnb, so
I hear they do, like, their Airbnb, they rate customers, so
yeah, they do.
You might get a bad rating if you don't do this.
Exactly. And it really will save, a lot of money. And it's just a convenience. One bag holds, like, a whole bottle of grease. So, like, pretty much.
This is, like, 32 ounces?
Yeah, so, like, this whole thing will go in this bag, And so, a lot of times people, it sits on their counters for a couple months, and they just keep pouring grease, so you can keep using it. It's fine. You don't have to throw it away after one use. So, there's a lot of value in it. But, yeah, it's a convenience, and it's kind of like once you have that convenience, you don't want to go back, because people come back. Yeah. And they'll be like, give me 10 bundles. I want more. I want to give them to my friends, because it's hard to go back after.
These are good. Yeah, these are like good gifts. They're like nice and simple.
Yeah,
not,
exactly.
Not heavy.
No.
You can carry them on a plane.
Yes, definitely. Like that, We've started vacuum packing them, which is why they're a little wrinkled. But we started vacuuming them so they're a little easier to travel with and ship and all that stuff. So, yeah. But,
nice. So, like, what were some of, like, the challenges that you faced when it came to, like, just creating an idea and, like, creating the pattern and stuff like that? Like,
I guess challenges, I really thought it through, and I did a lot of research. I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I will go in when I'm really trying to figure something out. And I really dug deep to really figure out what was going to work. I tested a lot of products, but I think one of the biggest challenges, I think it's just figuring out the correct way to file my patent. Even before I did it, before I spent any money, I did a lot of research to see if there was anything existing and that sort of thing. I think that was the most challenging, and even even the packaging itself, the wording on the packaging was hell.
Really?
Yeah, because it was like every time
it seemed like so simple.
Right, that's what I said. It looks so simple, but no, trust me, y'all don't know what I went through. And so the company Elk Packaging, shout out to them. I really had a great helper over there. Like, she really went in and, my point of contact just really walked me through things and went outside the box to make sure that I wasn't making any mistakes. She knew I was new. And she was like, and she would go over and beyond and, link me up with other people that weren't a part of that company who I need to be certified with, though, and help walked me through that process and said, this is what you have to do. You can't say that, you can't say this, you can't say that, don't do it.
A lot of rules.
Yes. And then you pay for your molds and your plates, so you don't want to say and do the wrong thing and have to do it all over again. So
wow. But yeah, that's good that you're get able to overcome those challenges and because sometimes people they have a really cool idea or they're like, oh man, I have this big thing that can really help a lot of people. But when it comes to execution, it's like overcoming those challenges is that's the practicality. Yeah, that's cool, you had a good idea, but if you can't make it practical in a way that's simple that people can understand, then good luck. It's not
exactly. And then also too, you get overwhelmed. I mean, at any point in time, I could have quit, but it was just I always tell people that. They're like, how did you come up with that? How did you invent that? How did you? And I'm just like, you invent something probably 10 times today. You've invented something. If you know, you take a vacuum and it's like, you know what I would do with this? You know what I would do with that? You're inventing something. You are. Even improving on something that's already existing, you're inventing. So don't underestimate yourself. But honestly, I'm not a quitter, but this was an animal that I was not prepared for. So honestly, I think that getting on Shark Tank propelled me to finish, because I was still had a prototype when I actually aired. I was still working on it and trying to get product in. So customers were pre-ordering, and they waited for like a year for the product, and they loyally, as long as I stayed in contact with them, and I was like, look, I'm trying, I promise. They're like,
email list, get on the email
list. Right. They were like, no, we support you.
That's
just thanks for communicating. And I was like, oh my God, I appreciate you guys. So all you out there, you know who you are. I appreciate you so much. But I did a interview with Cosmo, and they have Shark Tank faves. They have 5 of them, and I was one.
Nice.
And they called me for an interview, and I was the only one that had the story of like, you know, the struggle. And, you know, they were like, you know, do you think you went on Shark Tank too early? And I was like, honestly, no. I just feel like if I hadn't gone on when I did, then I wouldn't have finished, you know, because it was so challenging to do everything. And I got offered a deal on Shark Tank, but I didn't close that deal. Barbara Corcoran, yes, but I didn't close that deal. Yeah. So and so like I told that story in the Cosmo article too. So you guys can look that up. But it, you know, it's a real negotiation, and things really happen. And it's no bad blood or anything like that. But we couldn't come to terms on certain things. And honestly, I had no infrastructure of a company. It was literally just me. So you know, she probably was like, okay. You got a lot going on, girl, that you need too much help. Okay. But she's always offered her assistance, and you know, if I need it, and I can reach out to her.
In the future, who knows what could happen.
Exactly. She does a lot of real estate, so maybe we could just do a deal, Barbara. Come buy some grease bags. That's right. That's all you gotta do. Put them inside your house. Right. Like, no brainer. Whatever you do. So, yeah, but I definitely I'm grateful for Shark Tank. I'm grateful for the spot. 40,000 people apply, and 180 tape, film, and maybe 100 air. Wow.
I'm already trying to do the math in my head. Like that's a very small percentage.
Yeah, it's very, very, very small. So I was on it. I mean, they ask you to write your pitch and all that type of stuff, but I went a step further. I was putting sound bites in my pitch so that I could be at every commercial. I said, if after all of this, if I get on this show, every time my episode is about to air, I want to be in every commercial. I want you to see my face every time. I want you to see me every time. So I knew the show that well, because I've studied like all the seasons, all the entrepreneurs, all the versions of Shark Tank. Because Shark Tank is a spinoff. Okay, Dragon's Den and all these other ones that come from overseas. So I know them all. Yeah. So I was like, okay, no, I know how they do this. I know how they cut these commercials. So I'm gonna make sure I put these sound bites in there so that they'll put me in the commercials.
So you were ready. You were really, really prepared.
I was on it, and I was like, yeah. I mean, thank God it worked. Yeah. But Shark Tank is tough, and even when they fly you to LA, there's no guarantee. Then you got to go in front of the real decision makers, and they're like, well, we'll call you in your hotel. We'll let you know if you're going on the air tomorrow. Wow. And then we'll let you know who your sharks are. So I had no idea who I was going in front of, nothing. Wow. And I had to fry chicken for the sharks for real. So I actually fried that chicken. My mom finished it while I put on a white suit. But we were frying chicken in the little trailer, and Jamie Foxx walked by, and he was like, what is...
You said Jamie Foxx?
Jamie Foxx, yeah, because we were in the Paramount studio ground. He walked by like, who is frying chicken? Like, right over here. That's funny. So that was a real deal. They were like, hey, could you put on a suit? Hey, mic you. Hey, makeup, powder. Open the doors. Walk through. Shark Tank. Hey. So,
hey, Jamie, you want some chicken real quick?
Right, exactly. It all happens like that, like really fast. And what you see on TV is real. Like, and some people say that their pitches were edited, but pretty much what you see from mine is what I did, minus maybe a question or two. So
I felt the animation, all the experience from acting and all being on stage was there.
Oh God, yes, and the ancestors, because I prayed hard before I went in there. I was like, look, I need all y'all, because I'm going to hear about myself. Okay, please. Come through. Come on.
That's right.
Okay, I need y'all. So thank you guys. It did.
And it's just like, regardless of whatever happens, you know, Deal or No Deal, the exposure was really big.
Oh, it was
being
everything. Yeah, it's millions of dollars of advertisement I could never pay for. Or I could not have paid for at the time. We'll say that we're not going to speak that in existence. But but no, it really is. And they've aired me maybe 13 times or so. I don't know, maybe more. Half the time I don't know. I'll turn on the TV and it's like, oh, hey. There's my face again.
Hey, it's free advertising.
It is. So I appreciate them. Shout out to ABC and that whole crew over there. So I appreciate them a lot for that.
Yeah. Man, Mark Cuban is my favorite. So
he offered me, told me I can come work for him whenever I wanted to. Yep. You said that, Mark.
I have a lot of respect for him. I like Mark, and I like Barbara a lot too.
Yes.
She seems really humble. She's a real estate queen up in New York, but I like her story and
her book's amazing. So you should definitely read that. I read it immediately. She gave me a copy, but it was so good I couldn't put it down. But even Kevin O'Leary's a big softie. Like everybody thinks, stop, Kevin. He's not.
He's trying to feel his friend, like Mr. Wonderful, hard to impress.
Right.
But he liked that fried chicken though. He got
did.
real soft when I saw him.
Yes. Robert was like, it's the best fried chicken I ever had. I don't know if he was lying, but I appreciate him saying it on camera.
I mean, he sold it really well.
He did. Right, exactly. But I had a good time with them. But it's a tough one. So I do have a course that I give for people that want to get on the show or even are building their business. Like the information is transferable, but it's how I got on SharkTank.com.
Nice.
You guys can go on there, but it's because my story is so odd. So I'm like, if I can do it, you can do it, literally. So that's why I'm doing the course. And it's also to kind of encourage more of us to go out for the show. Black Enterprise, they also did an article on me as well, but they do their own castings a lot of times for Shark Tank because we're so intimidated to go. But us of color. We think they don't want us on the show. It's not true. It's not true. And
unless it's FUBU or something.
Right, exactly. And it's so not true. They actually we really want more because we don't want to look like we don't want, a diverse cast. So they really encourage all of us to go and show our ideas, and they want to see us, come in with something different. So that might have been a helpful thing for me, and why I came in with something totally different. That might be why they let me on the show.
This was different.
This was very different. So
that's cool. That's cool. And it's not. And to be honest, too, with how us as a culture, it's a lot of health issues and unfortunately stuff like that. And there's history behind that. Yeah. But it's not a whole lot of us, promoting environmentally friendly products too. So that made you really stand out.
Yes. And when we're coming out of the woodworks, thank God. There's so many of us now doing more and more stuff. But and there's nothing not knocking any business, because any business that's thriving, that's great. I mean, how could I? It's amazing, but we do need to show that we can do more than just one or two things. That's,
get out of the comfort zone.
Yes, definitely. And it's not just being of color. Like, I'm a woman as well, so people really look at me crazy. They're like, so what's your business? You're an entrepreneur, and it's like and I'll get into this, and they're like, really? I would have swore you did makeup, fashion, maybe. Really?
I do other things too.
I do that too. I mean, I'm an entertainer too, but it's funny though. I love that look on their face. It's amazing.
I love to surprise people. Like, wait, what? You do that?
I like your mouth to drop a little bit.
That's right. But no, that's cool. I like that. It's good for people to see that we come in all shapes and sizes, all different backgrounds, even within our own community. And we have different ideas, different thoughts and processes, and how we go about doing things too. So
yes, I mean, even when I wrote my children's book, I toured a lot of schools with that, and a few of the teachers it's really good for you to come in and be our author for this particular event, because they don't see anybody like you, and that younger or and a black woman at that at that. And that was another thing that I just was like, look, let me try this, let me do it, let me send out a few submissions, and I got published. For real. I didn't self-publish, I got published. Nice. But so it's I'm just one of those people that I'm like, put your mind to it, you can do it. So maybe that's my purpose, is kind of just letting people know that they can do that. I've tried a little bit of everything, and some of it's worked. So you can do that, Try it. You never know.
Fry some chicken and, put the oil in in here, and maybe you can even start your own garden
right?
because of this.
Because it is, right? Get you a bokashi bucket. It is amazing. I'm obsessed with mine.
Can you explain to everybody like the difference between bokashi and like regular like compost?
Yeah, so bokashi is in regular compost. You can't normally put like dairy and grease and meat and bones and all that stuff doesn't go into a regular compost bin, but in a bokashi bin you can. So it's basically fermenting your trash, and I love it because it actually keeps my trash clean. So it's not as smelly and all that stuff. Because I'm not putting all those scraps in there. So very little actually goes in the trash. But you realize you got scraps for days after you get done chopping and peeling fruit and doing all that kind of stuff. So all of it goes in there. Leftover meat that I might have, bones will go in there, cheese and ends of cheese that might go. You don't want to put any food in there that's already spoiled. You want to put your fresh scraps in there, and then you put bokashi grain on top of it every time and press it down, and it creates like a liquid too that you have to drain off, and it doesn't smell in your house, but the liquid is a little funky. So when you pour that off, well, you're actually supposed to throw it away, but it's like liquid gold. Actually, it will grow the hell out of your plants.
Really?
Yeah, it's like kryptonite. So it's like it has no twang, but it goes away. But you dilute it, so like a little bit, it goes a long way. Strong, super super potent, and you put it in like a gallon of water, and it keeps pests away as well. But it keeps like disease off of your plants and stuff. So it's microbial as well. But it's very good. It's very good for your plants, and it's very convenient, especially when you're in apartments. And and then you take that once your bin is full, you put it in dirt in like lasagna. So you put like the dirt, the bokashi compost, more dirt, cover it up. And then you just cover it up and leave a little bit of air, and like maybe after 2 months or so, it's all black dirt. It's like rich black dirt. And chicken is rich. You can plant. You got to put a bass in your voice for that. But so then you grow some really healthy, nutritious vegetables and flowers and stuff. So
you just gave me like an idea. Y'all don't steal this, but
and the oil goes in bokashi as well.
With you create a filter, but for smells, and you convert bad smells into good smells.
Okay.
I think I'm giving it too much game.
You
are.
No, what you're giving them too much. You're giving them too much.
About it, I don't know how that's gonna be possible, but
somebody's already writing stuff down.
They already writing it down.
You said too much.
Edit this part out the video.
You said too much already. It's too much information right there.
But I was like, I'm gonna forget it if I don't say it now. It's
I'm telling you, that's how you have to do though.
Yeah,
you have to act on it.
But anyways, so real quick, we wanted to do like a really quick display of how it's done. How she does her magic. So
it's very easy. So normally, we've opened this one already, but you can see like the perforated line here and the pair of scissors on there. So you basically cut the bag along that line, and you open it up and just pour your grease in there. So I'm gonna stand up, but you just basically pour it in, and it just grabs it. So you can kind of see in that window there.
Yeah, the little circle.
Yeah, and you can see it just starts disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so you just pour it, and it grabs it, keeps absorbing. And like I said, a bottle, I always tell people 32 ounces, which they're not going to measure out, or a bottle of cooking oil. Okay. Whatever, so that I'm dripping everywhere. It's not leaking, it's dripping. But yeah, and then it's still absorbing, no problems. And you don't even have to do anything special. Even like your butters and different things like that, all that stuff shouldn't go down the drain. It's still considered fats, oils, and grease. So fog is is the technical name for it. So fats, oils, and grease of any kind, salad dressings, different things like that have any kind of oil, you just don't want to put it down your drain. And I always tell people, hey, even if you don't use a grease bag, just do better with your grease, because it's really just it's causing a lot of pollution, and it's just not good for our planet at all. So you definitely just want to do better with your grease. And then that's pretty much all the grease is in there. But then you if you don't use it all at one time, it has a resealable sticker on the back. So you basically just fold it down, restick it, unstick it when you need to use it again, and pour more grease in there.
Wow.
Yeah, and so you can see the window is pretty much kind of showing you where but it's pretty much.
It's fully absorbed.
Yeah, it's absorbed. And I don't know if you guys can see or whatever.
Oh, you can hold it up for the. Yeah, it's fully absorbed, y'all.
Yeah,
so.
you guys can see. There's a little bit in
this
there
stuff
that's
works.
still like absorbing, but yeah, it's not gonna. Once it's fully absorbed, just let it sit, let it soak all in there, and then it won't leak in your trash or anything like that. And so it's a convenience. You can put it under your sink. You can put it on the counter. We're actually coming with some grease bags containers so that you can make it cute if you want to put it in a canister or something like on your counter. But that's definitely cool. And then the other trick that it does, which we can't really show you right now, but sometimes you'll have like you saute a little bit because a lot of people are like, I use a lot of grease. You use grease. I bet you use, even if you're vegan, you're frying avocados or something sometimes. but so like if you have like a greasy pan, even that you shouldn't just wash in your sink. Some people are extra. They're like, look, wipe that thing out before you wash it in my sink. Yeah. So instead of, you use a ton of paper towels. It's a pain in the butt, and those paper towels go fast anyway. So you don't even want to use all those on that. So basically, you could put a little soapy water or put a little water in that grease. Okay. In the pan, pour it in a grease bag. Yeah. Then pour the water off clear. It's gonna grab the grease and let the water go. It's magic. They can drink that? It's clear. If you want to drink it, it's fine. I did the trick on Shark Tank with the actual absorbent. So if you guys kind of want to see how it grabs, oil, and basically it just makes it like. I wish I brought like a little water. Yeah, and I actually have the loose absorbent, and I didn't even think about that. So so it's a cool little trick though. But it's like it makes a little grease pancake, and then the water is clear. Wow. Yeah. So
don't eat the pancake.
Right. Don't eat the pancake.
Just drink the water.
Right. So, but and so like we focus primarily at this time on cooking oil, but it's definitely good for any oil-based liquid. So motor oil for your car, oil-based paints. Anything like that you can use it for. Transmission fluid.
Biodiesel or...
Yes, anything that's oil based, so it's fine. And a lot of RV owners like them as well. They have really nice kitchens and stuff. They don't want to be pouring grease down the drain. Septic tank owners, it's a big problem for them. So it's definitely a very diverse product, and hopefully we can get the word out there. And you guys tell a friend or something, but
it's a lot of people doing the grease trap stuff and getting their grease stolen, because that's like a thing. I didn't even know that. It's like people are stealing and reusing grease because they're like being paid to get and reuse and recycle the grease.
That is yellow grease, and that is the yellow grease is. So I always tell people, because people are like, well, restaurants could use this, but the thing about restaurants is mom and pops and smaller bars and stuff, like they have contacted me to use them, but for the most part they're required to have a grease trap. So that grease trap will collect the grease, and then they collect that yellow grease and take it to the biodiesel plants and turn them into like biodiesel fuel and stuff like that. But it's like, that's fine, that's also good for our environment, but the household grease is the hardest to capture. So that's my job. So so I'm like, y'all got this, right? Y'all got that, and I got this, and it's like if I can, I do have bigger bags coming because food truck owners have contacted me as well. The Army.
Y'all need to contact her.
Pinky know me. She knows. We already talked about it. We've had a few meetings about it. All right, cool. Definitely. But no, it's my dad works overseas, so he's they cook a lot on the different bases and compounds, so they've tested them and they want bigger bags. So there's so much that I'm working on right now, but that's my niche, is to kind of capture the household primarily, the residential, however you look at that.
That's good. Like, the separation, like in real estate, you got commercial, and you got the residential. So that's and we're federal vendors as well to do like government contracts. So that would be the stuff like with the Army and stuff like that. So it's such a big animal, so much ground to cover. And even with Amazon, I'm sure you've seen the commercials of the Black Accelerated program they've launched now. I've seen some of those.
So Tiffany Johnson is the creator of that, but I was her guinea pig for that program. So I don't know how these things happen to me. But she found me on Facebook and she's like, hey, does anybody need help with the Amazon? And I was just trying to list them, and it's a little tedious. I was like, me. And she was like, okay, call me tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. We set up a meeting, and then I didn't know this whole program was happening, and it didn't even have a name. It had none of the logistics worked out. So I was the guinea pig, And, you know, I was just like, tell me if this is working for you. Give me some feedback on that. Should I put black in the name? And I was like, definitely, Tiffany. So, yeah, she's like, you know, so it was, you know, I think they just launched officially June 15th or something, but about a year or so ago, we've been, you know, helping her kind of get that up and running. So,
wow,
yeah.
That's really cool. You have a lot of open doors that are like starting to slowly, you know, show themselves.
Yes. And honestly, there's so many different opportunities that come my way. I can't always take advantage of them. You know, it's like you're raising funds, you're developing product, you're trying to get the word out. It's just a lot at one time. So as of now, I'm still trying to add help to my team because you know. Shout out to my business partner, Ron Love, but he's been my angel investor and my angel. Because without him, it was just me, you know, literally doing everything, every phone call, every email, every card that I handed out, any food truck park that I visited or handed out a sample, everything was me.
Dang.
And it's impossible to do it by yourself. I don't care if you're selling socks. You need at least 3 people to sell socks. So something like this, or something like this is crazy. And the more I get into it, the crazier it gets. Yeah, and then I'll be busy, and then I'll think I'm kind of making some leadway, and then here's Zulily calling. Wow. We can't not do it. You know, QVC has given me an open invitation. Like, they say anytime I want to come, but it's like I cannot take advantage of everything that I want to at one time. It's tough.
That's a good problem to have, though.
It is, and I appreciate it. But it's like you're looking at it like it's just money on the table, just sitting there.
It's just
can't
sitting
even
there.
spend
just
it.
Take it. It's just the green.
Just
sitting there.
just sitting over there.
Gotta reach for it.
Right.
But that's good. That's good. And you know, as we wrap things up, we would like to ask everybody, you know, if life was like a house, what does your house stand on? Like, what's a foundational pillar?
That's a good question.
It doesn't have to be, you know, what your business stands on. It could be what you personally stand on.
I think purpose, though. I think purpose is everything for me because I just feel like, you know, there's even with family and love and life, of course, that's, you know, the foundation that we should all value and we should all be building our houses upon. And those are I look at those like the bricks. You know, that kind of make the house strong, and you know, they make the house strong. Your family, your love, and your support, and your significant other, and all that stuff. But it's like, what are we doing this for? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So I just feel like having some kind of purpose for anything that you do, though. You know, like even now, if you're looking for an investor for your business, if you don't have a purpose behind your idea, anybody trying to hear that. Yeah. You know, you could be selling sunglasses and they're like, so hey, are you getting this plastic from Uganda and creating jobs over there? Or you're taking waste off of the side of the road and converting that into plastic? Like, what are we doing with it?
That's another business idea.
Look. So, I mean, it really is like that now, and it's for a reason, you know, because we just need so much help. We need people to care a little bit more, you know. True. It's just like your neighbor. Like if one block, you know, checked on each other and was like, hey, you got food over there? You good? No, I'm good. I got bread, but I need some milk. Okay, I got plenty of milk over here. Like, everybody will eat. You know, or we come together and just make a potluck. Like, everybody will eat. So, So I'm very much like that for real. Like, I'll feed you. Like, come out, I'll make sure you eat.
Speaking of that, like, you know, we had this thing called Question of the Day, and actually my question of the day for you is, what is your most in-demand side dish that goes along with your famous fried chicken that everybody loves?
Oh, side dish. Yeah. That would probably have to be either my macaroni and cheese or my mashed potatoes, though. People love my mashed potatoes because they're like, what do you put in them? Like, what is that taste? So, yeah, it probably would be that. It'd probably be that. Well, I ain't gonna lie. My greens are hell. My greens, my collard greens I make like your grandma. So perhaps the greens.
Man, grandma's gonna get mad.
I know she'll be mad at me. I know, don't tell her. Please don't tell her. I didn't say that.
She feels threatened already.
I know, right? She'll be like, okay, well, we gonna see about this.
See if I make you any more right. Cookout.
Exactly.
But thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you. Where can people find you? Website, social media? Go ahead.
Yes, definitely. So just like I said earlier, it's easy enough to remember. Greasebags.com is where you can find the product info, read more about it, you know, read more about the environmental stuff that's going on with it. Also at @grease_bags on Instagram, because somebody took grease bags. Look, you're not even using that
There's
handle.
There's a lot of trolls out there. They
nobody.
Take your business.
It was actually there well before. It was I looked at it early on, because I was trying to grab it early on, and because I got the website, and because when I was auditioning for Shark Tank, she was like, "You got that? You got greasebags.com?" I was like, "I sure did," nice. But I couldn't get Instagram. I think I got Twitter, but yeah. Okay. So it's @grease_bags on Instagram. Greasebags.com. Like I said, I am _LaTangela. So it's actually I am _LaTangela. Right. On Instagram as well. And yeah, I'm on YouTube. If you Google my name, honestly, if you Google LaTangela, it'll come up. It'll come up. But yeah, and even just LaTangela, there's LaTangela Faye as well. She's my sister from another mister. But she know I'm LaTangela on Google. Okay, you LaTangela Faye. We're gonna fight about this thing. But either way, LaTangela or LaTangela Newsome, you will find my information, and she know I love her. That's my girl.
Cool. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in for this episode. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or even on YouTube. Again, we are trying to grow the YouTube channel. We are doing it.
Yes.
With your help, with that subscription. We're going to get this message spread to as many people as possible. Make sure you also like and share it too, because the YouTube algorithm has a funny way of doing things, and that's part of how we get the message out, and we want more people to learn about grease bags. Yes. So we love you guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
I have fun. Thanks for having me. Sorry.